This presentation is all about the impact of emergency online teaching on the digital divide. This slide shows some of the challenges that are experienced with broadband connection. Students not having access to Wi-Fi at home. The digital gap is narrowing between rural and urban areas. According to Lee, 2/3 of rural households report having a broadband connection. Low-income families depend on smartphones. These families typically do not have access to tablets, laptops, or desktops for their children to access the internet for school. Due to social distancing, local libraries cannot help bridge this digital gap. The article is referenced below. This slide details some of the opportunities for students to have access to the internet. Lee discussed how one rural school district in California had solar-powered routers installed in their buses to provide students with access to the internet on their way to school. They also parked these buses in areas that did not have access to the internet to provide their students with 24/7 access. Other counties could invest in this opportunity to enable students to have reliable access to the internet. These efforts may not be long-term solutions. However, this is a step in the right direction to bridge the digital gap. This slide shows some of the challenges of reaching students. Digital learning has added another challenge for students to log into different platforms and attend various Zoom meetings. If students are not logging on, how can educators reach them? Teachers have been making more contact with parents than ever before. Being encouraging and kind to parents during this time is crucial. When students who do not usually log on, teachers need to make sure that they feel welcomed and respected. The article is referenced below. Here are some opportunities to provide student households with a device. Lee explains that in the fiscal year of 2018, the National School Lunch Program provided low-cost and free lunches to 29.7 million children in households with incomes at or below 130% in poverty. Schools and libraries can combine their efforts to supply households in need with a device and a hotspot. The students can sign these devices and hotspots out while they are picking up their lunches. This can alleviate some of the stress on these households as schools continue to use different forms of online learning. This video is called COVID-19 and the Digital Divide. The video is referenced to the side, and this video is from the RAND Corporation.
Most school buildings closed their doors at the end of March in order to keep children and families and teachers safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that when they did close their school buildings, they typically tried to provide some form of remote instruction, whether that was face-to-face learning or packets sent home with children. But we also know that the learning experiences that students did have were likely drastically different than what they would have experienced if they were in person. For example, based on our research, we know that about 12% of teachers indicated that they were able to cover all or nearly all the curriculum they would have covered if schools had remained open. Many teachers reported providing a lot of review and very little learning of new concepts. We also know that many teachers were unable to contact students or families. And of course, these issues were even bigger in schools with higher poverty and schools with students of color. Teachers in schools that serve more vulnerable populations typically reported being less likely to be able to contact all families. They reported being less likely to address all of the curriculum they would have covered, less likely to provide instruction in new concepts, and the list goes on. And so many students were at a disadvantage during the time that school buildings were closed and likely had inequitable opportunities to learn.
This slide details the privacy concerns that are posing a challenge during the digital divide. There has been a quick shift in the use of digital technologies within classrooms. Teachers have not received adequate training regarding these digital platforms. Privacy and privacy concerns are considered to be the new digital divides. Without this technology training, educators may not be aware of the need to review privacy policies across all forms of technology. The use of certain apps and tools, as well as websites, may violate students' privacy rights. Unsafe online situations may arise. How can students learn to appropriately use technology without understanding privacy and online security? This question has also contributed to the growing digital divide. The article is referenced below. Here are some solutions to privacy concerns. Many professional organizations are providing virtual or in-person training for educators in order to bridge the gap in the digital divide and privacy concerns. One entity in particular, StudentPrivacyCompass.org, offers a multitude of training sessions in order to help teachers defend student privacy. There are 22 online professional development sessions that can be accessed in order to alleviate the strain of privacy concerns due to the digital divide. These lessons can then be used in the classroom in order to teach one's students about protecting themselves and their privacy online. Digital literacy helps to soften the digital divide. The article is referenced below. Here are some solutions to the digital divide. The first solution would be to reduce the need for internet connectivity at home. So choosing devices that store programs on an internal drive or flash-based memory would be helpful, such as laptops, iPads, or tablets. Second solution would be to make sure needed materials can be downloaded without internet. So this would be using Microsoft 365 and Google Apps. The third solution would be to ensure that schools provide internet access throughout the school day, especially in areas where home internet poses an issue. And solution number 4 would be to help to determine the location of hotspots around the school and neighborhood to aid with internet access. This slide is a continuation of solutions to the digital divide. Solution number 5 would be to inform parents and students about the free internet access offered at public libraries, YMCAs, YWCAs, and other community centers. And solution number 6 would be to inform parents about other low-cost alternatives to consider. These alternatives can be found alongside nonprofit organizations as well as telecommunication providers. Again, the article is referenced below. Here are some final thoughts and questions to consider after this presentation on the emergency pandemic teaching and digital divide. How has the digital divide impacted you or your students? What can you do to help bridge the gap regarding the digital divide? What can you recommend for families with no internet access at home? What can they do or where can they go to take advantage of free internet opportunities? Could they use YMCAs or YWCAs? How can the digital divide affect children of all socioeconomic backgrounds? Thank you for watching and listening to this presentation. If you do have a comment or question, please feel free to ask or comment in the discussion box along the class assignments, and this group would be happy to get back with you with what we can. Thank you.